Okay. Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to Motivational Monday with Jackie O. I am your host, Jackie, and I have my special guest with me today, Kimberly Holiday. Woo. Hey, Kim, how are you?
Good evening, everyone. I am excited to be here this evening. Thank you for having me.
Yes, thank you so much for being here with us today on our Motivational Monday, where we're going to be talking about being our authentic selves, dismissing the imposter. I wonder who the imposter is.
Wow.
Uh, I want to introduce Kim to you, and I'm gonna let her introduce herself as well. But I always like to tell people how I meet my guest or how I met my guest. So Kim and I initially met on Facebook. And I looked back through my thread, right? Because I'm like, I want to get it right. It was January of 2014. I accidentally sent Kim a friend request. And she responded back. She said, "Oh, maybe you sent it to me by mistake. We don't have any mutual friends. Was this an accident?" And it was an accident, right? But she still accepted my request. And so we became friends on Facebook. And I moved to Austin probably the latter part of the spring in 2015. And I think I met you in 2015 because I was promoting my daughter's business and I went to KZI. I was there a couple of times, several times, promoting different things that I had going on. And so that's how Kim and I met. And I did a workshop for her and she attended Pop the Celebration that we had
That's right.
back in, I believe that was 2017.
Yep.
So we've had a good connection, and every time I see her, even when I've seen her outside of KZI and events, I think we ran into each other at the jazz festival, just different things. She's always been Lady Joy, always a smile on her face. And I'm like, whew, it's just contagious. So I am so happy and honored that, you accepted to be on with us tonight at Motivational Monday. And I did say that you are a radio personality for KAZI. That is a local radio station in the Austin area. You're an author, a community leader. Tell us a little bit more about yourself, Kim.
Absolutely. First of all, thank you for having me here. I'm listening to you, and it's really important that I unmask myself to show up as my real, authentic self. And as I was listening to you, I was thinking the very same thing. Oh my God, I can't remember where we met. And I didn't have time to roll back through the feed. But in most cases, I have met many people through Facebook, and I have met real friends and made genuine connections through Facebook. And our relationship and our friendship is truly an example of that. And so I am I am many things. And so my friend just told me today, Kim, I noticed on your resume you left out many things. And I guess I tell people what I want them to know about me. And so I will just say I wear many hats. I managed Walgreens for about 10 years and I was a pharmacy technician, but I managed the whole entire store for about 10 years. I made a lot of money. However, I felt like I had golden handcuffs on me, and so I decided to let that go. I had my last child who was 1 pound, and so then I started a child care. These are the parts I don't want anyone to know, but my friend reminded me that these are the building blocks that make me me. And so I'll go through those parts really fast. And so I had a daycare as well for about 8 years. And so after that, I decided that I wanted to be a motivational speaker. And so there you found me at KZI. I also lead motivational workshops out in the community. I serve on 3 different boards in the community. I've written 5 different books. I just try to show up on all different platforms as my real self. I like to share who I am, my traumatic past, and remind people that they have the potential to live with more joy despite their circumstances. That's who I am in a nutshell. You only gave me a little bit of time.
Girl, but you can just keep going, okay? And that's what I like about you, Kim, is just what you said, being your authentic self, showing up being present, with yourself and sharing, being transparent with some of the past things. And that's what we really need. And that's what we're going to talk about tonight, because in order to be your authentic self, you do have to show up, and you do have to be transparent and be vulnerable of some of the things that have happened, in our past, in order for us to move forward. So we're going to be talking about that and the imposter syndrome. So I want to give you a
look that up, by the
definition.
way.
Yeah, I'm going to give everybody a definition, girl, and I'm going to read it to make sure I get it right, of the imposter syndrome. So imposter syndrome is the overwhelming feeling that you don't deserve your success. It convinces me, that you are not as intelligent, creative, or as talented as you may seem. The imposter syndrome may be linked to other feelings of self-doubt, such as fear of success, fear of failure, or self-sabotage. Okay, so can we just have some church now? Just run around church. All right.
Like, does she always go in this hard on her guests? And did she say we only have 30 minutes to unpack question number one? What?
Girl, we're gonna do it. We're gonna do it. I know we're gonna do it.
So first of all, let me just say this.
Okay.
Even if we got to question number one, most times the question is more important than the answer, right?
Yeah.
So for everyone who is listening, the question is more important than the answer. So I spent a lot of time today just thinking about that, right?
Okay.
And so what I came up with is this. What it really boils down to is I had to look up imposter syndrome as well. So Google allows us all to be really smart. But what it comes down to is feeling unworthy.
Yeah.
We ask ourselves the same question, all of us, regardless of how many letters you have after your name, how many degrees or accolades you have. You always ask yourself, am I worthy enough? Am I smart enough? Am I pretty enough? That's what it boils down to. And somewhere, someone told you or sold you a lie that made you believe that you couldn't do something that you can. And so that's what I came up with. And I'm not just talking to you, I'm talking to myself. So as I minister to the world, I'm also ministering to myself. This comes up for me all the time. And so self-doubt is actually pretty normal. And so then, as I started doing my research, it said, is imposter syndrome a weakness? It said that you could flip that thing on its head, and that it actually could help you to always balance, to let you know that you could always be better at something.
Yes.
And so with anything, you always have to find a happy balance. Are you beating yourself with that thing, just like with shame and guilt? Are you torturing yourself, or are you using it to try to push yourself to be a little bit better? Because we know pressure can be, it's hard, but we also need pressure to push us on to the next thing or to the next level. That's what I have for that. So check in on your self-doubt.
Girl,
Am I talking out?
so no, you said that we came in with the strong. You just came in with like pow, and there we go. That is so true. That is so true. So we're going to just hop right into that first question, and we're not going to probably go through all of the questions tonight. We're going to flow with the spirit. How about that? We'll flow with that.
I read question number one.
Yes, ma'am. We're going to flow. And you know what? When you were talking about that, I'm going to take this to church for a quick second. When you were saying about the self-doubt, that is just like the enemy, right? Because he is an accuser of the brethren. So he is always right there in our face, like for us to have that, just talking, as my nephew says, for us to have that self-doubt, and it will come, because we will have it. We're normal. We are going to have that doubt, just what you said, but it's how we handle it. Where do we go from there? And again, it's a learning thing. It's a learning experience. What do you learn from that? Or do you just stay there? So what I want to know from you is this. We're talking about that. And the question is, why does our presence matter? Okay. Why does our presence matter? And here we go, back again. When we come into the presence of someone, just like when we have the presence of the Lord, right? We feel it, it is powerful. And so our presence should be the same. We may not be these big celebrities with great platforms, but we all have a platform that we can use to use our voice for our presence to be known and for our presence to be powerful. Okay. So I want to know from you, why is it important, or why does our presence matter?
Well, you just basically
I know, but I want to hear you say it.
Told us the reason why. You know what? As of lately, I continue to say, or the Spirit has placed in my soul, that to say, for such a time as this. Yeah. I continue to say that He has kept me, He has saved me for such a time as this. He didn't bring me this far to leave me. And my story is significant because when shared among the nations with whomever, whether it's with 1 or 2 or 2,000 or 2 million, God says that the story is significant and it is to be shared because it will save someone. Yeah. And it'll remind them that they are not alone and that God is with them and that He will meet them where they are as well. We are to bear witness and to remind everyone that we are crucified with Christ. You know, listen, I am a wretch undone, but he saves me and He keeps me. Right? And it is not because I am so wonderful and so great, but He wants people to see that He saves even a person like me. I keep running. I don't want to be a preacher. I said, I cuss. And my friends say, well, I guess you're just going to be a cussing preacher then, because this is what He's called you to do. But everywhere I go, I just want to tell people how good He is and how He's kept me through so many things. And right now, where He's brought me in my life, I'm able to tell people that he saved me from sexual trauma as a child and through my teenage years, and from being in a mental institution and all the things that they said I was going to be. I am not those things, and now I can freely tell people those things so that they too can be delivered from those things. We can be healed, and we are delivered. Amen.
Yes, ma'am. And you were frozen for a quick second, but you're back.
I'm back.
But we still heard you. Yes. That's
how the enemy works. May God be our Wi-Fi.
Yes, I know. Yes, that was really good, Kim, what you said, because we are all a mess. But you know what? God uses anybody. You know, if we are that willing vessel, He will use us. And it doesn't matter. Like you said, you don't have to have all these letters behind your name. He can use me, and He can use you. He can use our children. He can use whomever to get it out.
That's why your platform and your presence is so important. Let me bring that back.
Yes. Go ahead, girl. You want to finish it up?
Especially in your home. Your home is your platform.
Absolutely.
Your family.
Yeah. And you know what? I was thinking about that earlier when you said that, because we were talking about being the authentic person, the authentic leader. And a lot of times when people look at leader, they think of someone that's just, you know, like out there leading movements and just corporations. But we are leaders in our home. You know, we're mothers and fathers, you know, we are leaders in our home. So everyone is a leader, and our presence is definitely needed, you know, and because it starts in the home.
Can I say something right there? Can I detour right there?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so let's talk about masks and being in the home.
Oh, yeah.
Right now, we get in front of these camera screens, right? And before the camera goes live, we got to check in on even the way we're speaking to our families before the camera goes live. So talk about masks. So I just want to pause right there, and I have to always check in on my heart and the way we treat the people right here in the house, especially while we're on a, you know, going back in on a, you know, stay in the house, be safe in the house.
Right.
How
Yeah.
are you treating people in the house
Girl.
before you get
Good.
pretty and turn on the lights, camera, action? Okay, move on to the next one.
That's good. That's a message all by itself. That's good.
And I
Um,
only speak to my convictions.
yeah, and that is true. Not even just with the cameras, right? I mean, just day to day, because I even catch myself, sometimes I may respond to my girls in a way that I shouldn't respond to them. And so I have to be very intentional and mindful of like, oh, okay, let me back up, okay, yeah, I'm sorry. Because we can't be saying we're being our authentic selves and we're like hell angels at home. Okay. All right. There we go. So let's talk a little bit, Kim, about how to deal. We talked a little bit about this, but how to deal with and overcome fear, self-doubt, and that great imposter syndrome. Like how we deal with that.
Well, I did think about that question, and my response to that is to do it scared. I really don't have an answer for that
Okay.
because um, when I was reading through this as well, part of my personality, my anxieties, this is just part of who I am. And I've spent my lifetime trying to figure it out. But the cool thing about this is I have figured out that I still write down all my goals and I still pray over all my goals. And I can say that everything that I write down, it takes place. It happens. And the only thing I brought to the table today was my photo that says I'm a published author. And I always keep a vision board. I always write things down. I simply believe that we should write the vision and we should make it plain. And I believe that when our visions and our plans are in line with what God has for us, yes, there is fear, and fear is a normal emotion, and it is in place to tell us that there is possible impending danger and that we should also just check and see what's around the corner. But it doesn't mean stop.
Right.
It's only a yield sign. It's only in place for safety, but it doesn't mean stop. And so I'm doing everything I want to do it, but I'm doing it scared because I've also been on the flip side, Miss Jacquie, where I've missed out on things and I've cried on the other side because I said I could have done that.
Mm-hmm.
But I didn't, and I'm the only person that knew I missed out on that because I was too chicken. And I don't ever want to do that again. I'm fabulously 46. And you know what? People are dying every day. And I don't want to miss out on one single thing.
Yeah.
And you know what? It doesn't matter if you don't have any degrees. It doesn't matter if your bank account, I'm talking about me. It doesn't matter if your bank account is negative and zero. You can do whatever you want to do because God makes provisions for
Yes.
you. And so it doesn't even matter about your fear,
Yeah.
right? I'm still doing whatever I want to do with my fear.
Yeah.
I don't know if I answered the question.
You did.
And I still have self-doubt
Yeah.
and I have post-traumatic stress disorder. So when I get up in the morning, I'm scared before I even open my eyes. But I still write my to-do list. I've programmed myself to still write the to-do list and to pray over it. And when I get too scared, I go out and I walk the block. And I figured out that one block is a half a mile. And so I'm going to get fined while I have fear.
Girl,
I've
there you
lost
go.
11 pounds.
There
And
you
I realized that and I was using food. You got to be real with yourself. You got to do a self inventory with your fear too. What am I really afraid of?
Yeah.
And am I using food to feed my fear? Okay, that's a whole nother workshop. I'm watching time on us, because I'm the facilitator too. I'm not usually on this side. I'm nervous and I have fear, but you still show up.
Yes. Yes. And I like what you said about how God makes the provision, as well as when we write the vision, because the word tells us, write the vision, make it plain. Okay. Yes, it tells us that. And we, in our home too, we have vision boards. We do a vision board every year. And, we're putting our vision down. We're putting the words, the pictures, and we're looking at it periodically, like, okay, so we can stay on track. And I do believe too in reference to moving forward and not just staying there, because God, if you take that step of faith he'll come right behind you and he'll do the rest, and I'm a witness of that, of a lot of things that, I've done in my personal, that we've been doing, like even this, like Motivational Monday was like something we came up with when we started being at home, for the COVID. So I'm like, okay, since we're not going to be able to meet and have our monthly meetings and things that we normally do, how else can we do this? I had no idea what I was going to be doing, how it was going to get done. And I messed up along the way, because, hey, I'm learning as I go. But I kept it going because I knew that this was something not just for people, but even for me, because I'm like you, I am constantly learning. I'm forever learning something. I'm forever just growing. So, hey,
And
we
God
have work
honors
to
that.
do. Yeah, he does. He does. And isn't that awesome that he does?
He's
Yeah.
so excited about that.
Yes. Yes. So, um, so we can move along. I had a couple of things that I wrote down, and so I want us to, dialogue back and forth. You hop in on how we can overcome, right? How we can be overcomers of this imposter syndrome and be our authentic selves. And we talked a little bit about this in the very beginning, and we talked about fear. So the first thing is break the silence. And when I say that, it's talking about shame, because shame can have us in a crazy place, right? I mean, we can be shameful of just things that have happened in our past that we've gone through, and we keep it bottled up, and shame keeps us in this bondage. But when we break the silence, when we talk about it, and as you said, share our story, because our story, our testimony is for someone else. It is to
Yep.
save someone else. It's not just for us. We talked about just even forgiveness. Forgiveness is not necessarily for you. It is for, it's not for the other person. It is for you. And so
Right.
the same is for our testimonies. We have to break the silence, and shame keeps us bound. Would you agree with that?
Actually, I totally agree with
Yeah.
that. And you know what? The beauty of it is just speaking it out and then it's over. It's actually that simple. And I tell people sometimes maybe it's not speaking it out. The expression can be in a varied way. Some people sing, some people write, some people draw. You just have to get it out. And you know what? The truth is, most of us are really carrying the same things. And and again, you are not alone
Yeah.
in your burden. And
Yeah.
so, yes, I totally agree with you
Yeah.
that you can be set free. Yes. And it may sound crazy, like, but yes, and I'm 46 saying I have been set free just this year. June the 2nd. Um, is the birth date of one of my perpetrators. And every year, like I don't know, when I flip the calendar on June, I get depressed. And this year I got angry. And I sat under the tree for most of all of June. And I decided that this was the last year that this was going to happen to me. And so this year I decided to simply just say, and so when I do workshops now, I can just get free and not have to tiptoe over certain parts of it.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I am Kimberly Holiday, and I am a survivor of sexual trauma.
Yeah.
And I have been set free, and I am here to share the parts of the story that you can handle at this part, right?
Yeah.
But I'm free from all of it.
Yeah.
Yeah? And so that just feels good for me. And you know what else? I think it helped my mom to get free too.
Mm, yeah.
She says,
So
I
that was
wish
it.
She said, I wish that it didn't take me as long to figure this out.
Yeah.
And so that just feels good for me. And I want to say this too, really quickly. You met me on the Juice and Jam show at KZI.
Yeah.
And, as the Spirit works, that no longer was working for me. And as God would have it, He opened the door for me to do gospel. I've been doing gospel for the last 2 years. I do the gospel sweet spot on KZI on Tuesdays and Fridays from 5 a.m. to 7 a.m. for 2 hours. It has become one of KZI's number one shows. My voice is heard around the nation, and I play gospel and I read the Bible. I share scripture application. I do bootleg. I read the Bible, and I just love it. So, again, all platforms.
Yes.
Me, no mask. I bring all my burdens and all my cares to him, and the non-believers are running and saying, "Who is this God?" And so this is it.
Yes. And that is what it's about, for them to want to know, who is this God? You have this joy, right? And the joy that you have is because God abides in you and you in him. So your joy is just like, like a ray of sunshine. And even when they hear your voice, as you were saying, they want to know. That's good. The second thing is we need to separate our feelings from the facts. Okay, so this is the example. I know, girl, I might need to say it again for the people way in the back, but we need to separate our feelings from the facts. Okay, so this was the example. You may feel stupid. Now, that might be a harsh word, but you may feel stupid about something. However, that's not really the fact. And so here's an example. I listened to Dana Chanel. I don't know if you heard of her, but her and her husband, they do like this podcast, and she has like all these different businesses, and her husband has like this tax business, and they're like 26 years old, running these multi-million-dollar companies. But anyways, they do this podcast. Just Friday, I was listening to them, and her husband said, when he started his podcast, now they have millions of followers, right? But he had no idea what he was doing. He didn't have the intro music. He just, it was just a mess pretty much. But the more he did it, the better it got. And now look where he is. And so when I looked at Motivational Monday, and I would go back because I record it, and I would, look at it again. I'm like, oh God, you shouldn't have said that. I just really beat myself up about it, right? Oh, you were so dumb to say that, or stupid to say that. But then I would get DMs and emails. Oh, that really blessed me. Oh, it was really, a good show. That's the fact, right? So the feeling that I'm feeling that I didn't do a good job, that's the feeling. But the fact is, if just one person get it, then that's really all that matters, if they were impacted by it.
I agree with you. And what I also feel is that somewhere between the feeling and the fact is this space in the flesh of being vulnerable. And that's what is uncomfortable for us.
Yeah.
And the truth is, when you get vulnerable, that's when you really start touching lives.
Yeah.
And you will always, because it happens to me all the time, that's when we start touching lives, and you get those callbacks and the phone starts blowing up, and you get DMs and people are saying, you are touching my life. You don't know how much you blessed me. And it comes from out of nowhere.
Yeah.
Right. And
Yeah.
you find out later on that the Holy Spirit was working when you were feeling stupid. The
Yeah.
Spirit was working. I'm about to cry. Anyway, I always have my tissue near.
Yes. Yes. And Kim, even in that, again, we never know who is watching. We never know who's watching and who is impacted. And just to even go back to that, I had 3 DMs today. One was from a gentleman and 2 from women that said how we inspire them. And, I'm thinking, little old me, what am I doing? I'm not, again, here is that false feeling versus the fact.
The
But
imposter syndrome
yeah,
showing up in your life.
yeah, there he is trying to take residence, but guess what? He can't, because he don't pay rent. So if you don't pay
Not
rent,
just
you can't stay here. But, I was just like, oh, wow, and so that really just kind of motivated me, because I'm like, oh man, so you never know who is watching you, and that you need to know that you are impacting someone, and it's not that you're just feeling stupid.
This was really good for me this evening, and I want to let you know it's 7:28, and you've done an amazing job of unpacking
Yeah.
number one, the imposter syndrome,
Mm-hmm.
and really back to what I said. This was about feeling unworthy and us reminding ourselves that you are worthy and that you are good enough. You are smart enough.
Yes.
And you're smart enough to know to record the videos and go back and watch the videos and to know that you're doing this to perfect your gift and that no one who is great started out great.
Yeah.
Right?
Right.
And how do you have show with bloopers if you didn't have any bloopers?
Yeah.
So anyway, and every show should be a celebration
Yeah.
of you showing up. Yeah, and I'm excited to be here. Thank you
Yay.
so very much. This was a lesson for me. I'm actually gonna go back and watch this myself later. I usually cry after these because part of showing up authentic is not listening to prepare for how professional and how your adjectives run together for the next question you're going to ask. You just show up. And
Right.
so I'll listen later and realize that I just showed up with no mask on tonight as Kim, not the radio lady, not Lady Joy, not any of that.
Mm-hmm.
Because I want to grow too. Some amazing things are happening in my life. I'm not just publishing books, I'm coming out as the publishing company. I'm writing big dreams for myself, and God is backing all of it
Yeah.
because I promise to be a witness on all platforms. Thank you for
That's
allowing
it.
me to be here.
Oh, you're welcome. And I just want to do these last couple of
Oh, it
tips.
sounded like I was closing up right.
Girl, yeah, you thought that you was, I know you used to being the facilitator. This is the
Because
Jackie
I'm
O
too
show.
vulnerable right now. I'm about to cry.
Oh, I'm so sorry. But I want to get these last couple of tips out just really quickly because I know that we are running a little past our time. But another thing was for us to develop a new response to failure and mistake making. Henry Ford said, failure is only opportunity to begin again more intelligently. So my point to that is when we have failures that we call failures, I don't look at them as failures any longer. I look at them as learning points, something I can learn from this so that I can do better. Another thing that I wanted to share is to accentuate the positive. And so this is again, we have perfectionism and that drives us, but we can't let it overtake us. Okay. And
Is that
so
even real?
being perfect,
Yeah.
no.
Cancel, clear, delete.
That's,
Okay, go
there you
ahead.
go. There you go. And another thing that we need to do is visualize our success.
Come on.
That is just like with our vision boards and everything that we're writing down your big dreams, you're writing them down, we're visualizing it. I think about my daughter Layla that has her business, and she'll come sit at the foot of my bed and she'll bounce ideas off of me and I'll bounce ideas off of her, and then at the end she'll be like, Mom, I just see us doing this. So she's visualizing the success, she's visualizing what's going to happen. So we need to do that. And the last one is we need to reward ourselves. So we need to pat our own selves on the back. We may not get that validation and someone saying, oh, you're doing a great job. But guess what? You are doing a great job. And so we need to pat ourselves on the back and not be so hard on ourselves when we
Right.
mess up, because everybody has an off day, an off time. And that was for me because, sometimes when I'm messing up, I am my biggest critic and I'm sitting up there like, oh my God. But no, Jackie, you've done a great job. You've been doing a great job. So pat myself on the back. As a matter of fact, I'm giving myself a hug,
Yes, ma'am.
because I did it. But I wanted to get those points out
Great.
to our viewers. And again, Kim, Thank you so much for being here, showing up, being present, your authentic self. Um, and I know that someone was blessed on tonight. I know I was. I'm always blessed when I'm in your presence, even if it's virtual. And so, again, thank you so much. Thank you to our viewers for being with us on Motivational Monday with Jackie O. I'm your host. And until next time, we will see you next time. Okay. Bye bye, guys. Have a good evening. Bye bye.